Thanks for tuning into this very special broadcast or a piece that we are doing with Dr. C.K. Narayan. He writes exclusively for NDTVProfit.com, and at the end of every calendar year, Dr. Narayan puts out a chart of what the year is going to look like for the markets. Think of it as a Nifty or a Sensex chart, and it broadly encapsulates what the move could very likely be. Now, in case you thought this was not possible, I urge you to look back at history of the last 30 years.
Easily, yeah.
30 years, and you will see that there is merit in what we are trying to do here. Otherwise, I wouldn't get this piece as a broadcast on our website and on our TV station. Now, Dr. Narayan, thank you for doing this for so many years, and thank you for doing this now for NDTV Profit per se, and of course, your individual readers and subscribers. But tell us, what is the basis of this?
Well, this is actually a accumulation of various cycles through the years. I am a big believer in cycles, and I do believe that all human activity is ruled by cycles, and so are markets. So if you take at the core level, bull and bear markets are cycles, right? And then the weather is a cycle, and everything around us works in cycles. So that was the the start of the thought process of creating something like this. Plus the mentors that I have used from the past, they used to do things like this, and inspired by them, I have also been doing it, and it has turned out decently satisfactorily over the years. So I've persisted in doing it. We kind of get it right sometimes it kind of blows up in our face. But the whole point is of doing this is to have a roadmap for the market ahead.
Right.
Right. So that you know when to get aggressive, when to pull back a little,
right?
When will the market really reward you if you get aggressive, or when you should not. So you can make broad decisions of your approach in the market.
Got it.
And that should be across the year so that you can plan your stuff well.
Nice.
Right? So that is the whole idea of doing this.
Okay, now before we get to the near term, just want to lay it out. So this is the Nifty chart or the Sensex
yes,
chart?
So this is the Nifty.
This is the Nifty chart.
It doesn't matter, they will move
coincide.
Similarly.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. No, just to get the numbers straight, because we don't have charts or numbers on this chart, just want to lay it out. This is the start of the year. So this is circa 21,800,
yes,
700,
yes,
whatever
yes,
it is.
Yes.
What is the top number?
Now, that would be kind of caveated on few ifs and buts, right?
Okay.
But the point here, the first point which emerges, is that the first part of the year is a little choppy.
Okay.
Right? If you go up, that's mainly because I have provided for a bit of a dip in the month of May, because this is the election year, and election years are always a bit tricky to kind of forecast. So I have provided for a little bit of dip. Now there are cycles which are pointing to that dip not being there also, which would then make 2024 an absolute banner year.
Right.
Okay. Now, typically we expect that after a 20% kind of year, the market should take a breather and all that. But my sense is that both 24 and 25 should do extremely well for the market. And
2024 and 2025.
Yes, and
okay.
This is based upon what we call as the 10-year cycle chart, the decennial cycle pattern, which almost always has the 4th year of the decade and the 5th year of decade as very bullish years.
Okay.
Right, and if you go back in our history also, you will find that to be the case.
Got it.
Right. So we are in 2024 and 25. So with an expectation that we'll have a 2-year bull market, not just the next year, I think we should be finishing significantly higher than where we are starting.
Okay.
So I've made it such that the first quarter of the year or the first 2 months of the year should probably make the low for the year. So people might be, somewhere
these
there.
levels?
Yeah, Jan and Feb, so somewhere there. So if you see that chart by somewhere around the middle of Jan, I'll just walk up to the chart. So somewhere around the middle of Jan and thereabouts, you should have a temporary high for the current up move which is going on. In fact, if you look at smaller time windows, the time window for a correction has already started from today. That is, the last day was on the last day of December, and this time window is open till about 15th of Jan.
Okay.
You know, you have to give it or take a little bit here and there, but then this is approximation. So we have already entered into a corrective time window. Now, because the momentum is high and the sentiment is robust, that might get spaced out a little as various sectors play out and all that. But somewhere towards the middle of the month, I would expect a pullback, and the market should remain in a bit of corrective mood,
Sure.
which might go through here. But subsequent to that, so that is why I said the low for the year should be made here.
Wow.
Even if we have a very deep fall in May, post the election, let's say the results are adverse to what is being expected or being discounted, we will still end up making a higher bottom to this.
Nice.
So that is one of the good news of the year,
Right.
that people are afraid ki kya hoga election mein, let us get out and all that. So there is a little bit of high which will be made because this is natural. People think that before a big event we should take some money off the table. That should happen. And then after this part may play out a little differently. But I have provided for a fall, but from the fall I have a good rise. And then June and July should be kind of consolidating months. So this area will probably give you a very good point in time for you to create new investments, because there will be so many changes, how the government forms and all of that. So the vote on account, the new budget, all of those will kind of play out here. But my sense is, according to the cycles, all of them are pointing to a really robust movement here. Okay, so I have June, July to December playing out very, very well. And this is playing out consistently across all the cycles that I measure.
Okay.
And I measure cycles up to 40 years.
Okay, got it.
And I have the data going back to about 1940s.
Wow.
That's different types of indices. So it gives me the facility to look at long-term cycles.
Got it, sir.
So second half of the year, very bullish. So whatever you want to put in fresh money, do it in this period.
Nah.
You want to wait for the election, that's your call. If this dip does not happen, then what you will have is a strong rise all through the year.
Got it. Just two quick questions now, very quickly. If this dip doesn't come, would the chart still be like this, and would the end levels still be around these levels
absolutely.
only? Okay, great.
Absolutely.
And what are these numbers, Dr. Narayan? We're starting off at 21,750.
So we are starting off somewhere around 21,700,
Right.
thereabouts, that is where we are. So we'll have the worst part of the correction. Right now, I think is 21,000 or at worst around 20,500.
Okay.
That is what I would expect this. That is why these dips of the corrections are kind of limited. So that is where I'm aiming at. Now, if something completely out of the box happens,
Of course.
even then we are looking at about 18,800, 18,900 as the absolute worst case, right? So if you take that we have had about 20% year, and you expect a repeat of the 20%, then you are actually looking at about a 4,000 point rise in the year.
Got it.
From where we closed. So that is your ballpark figure. So then if you take that puts you around 25,000, 25,200. So most of my consensus targets are between 24,500 and 25,200, 300. That is what it is. The outside chance is that we may have, because of all the things present, and if May turns out to be a pleasant one, then I think we may even hit a 30% year on top of the 20%. See, everywhere the world is booming and there is no...
Sure. So
there
that's the
are
blue
no
sky
dark clouds.
scenario.
Yeah, it's a blue sky scenario. So the Nasdaq has done 40% and the S&P has done 26%. We have done this. Banks have done only 12%.
Sure.
So
So that could happen too.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Dr. Narayan, this is lovely. So viewers, look at this chart carefully. You'll of course able to see this again as well, but this is Dr. Narayan's prediction of how the year could shape up by. The most important point according to me is that put your money to work in the first half for having a really cool second half performance.
Absolutely.
Dr. Narayan, thank you so much for doing this for us.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to showcase
No, this is pleasant. And viewers, remember, if you want to read more about this, on our website is the story put out by Dr. Narayan on Saturday, which gives the depiction of this chart and more. Thanks so much for tuning into this broadcast.